Charlie Munger. He passed away about a year ago now. And he was a really interesting guy. I mean, he never actually formally studied like economics or business or finance, but he ended up becoming one of the best investors ever, really. Bill Gates, Bill Gates, right? He called Munger the broadest thinker he'd ever met. And then Warren Buffett, his business partner, said that Munger had his own mold. So today, let's look at some of his best ideas, especially, the ideas that can help us make better decisions in life. So one of Munger's main ideas was this thing called the circle of competence. So basically, it's about knowing what you're good at and also knowing what you don't know. He thought that staying inside this circle, like focusing on what you actually understand, that's how you avoid making big mistakes. And that's how you succeed over the long term. He had this great quote. It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent. Think about it, right? Instead of trying to be like super smart, maybe the key is just not being dumb. So think about it. What are you really good at? Because those are probably the areas where you'll do the best. Munger also talked a lot about thinking for yourself, like not just following the crowd. He knew that doing what everyone else does, well, that usually gives you average results. He even said mimicking the herd invites regression to the mean. So to be really successful, to do better than average, you have to be different. You have to be right, and you have to do your own thing. It's about questioning things, looking at things from different angles and coming to your own conclusions. Because remember, the crowd isn't always right. And this whole idea of thinking for yourself, it goes with another one of Munger's ideas, knowing when to quit. He liked to use this poker analogy, Like even if you have a hand you love, sometimes the best thing to do is just walk away. For investing, this could be selling a stock even if you really like it. And in life, it could be like changing jobs or even ending a relationship that's not good for you anymore. Knowing when to cut your losses, it's a really important skill. It can save you a lot of pain and trouble.
Think about a time when you held on to something for too long. It could be a project, an investment, or even just an idea. What happened? Maybe if you had let go sooner, it would have been better. So Munger, he also kind of challenged the way people usually think, especially those who just rely on numbers. He got that not everything important can be measured with numbers. He and Buffett, they actually moved away from just using numbers for investing, and they started focusing on buying really good businesses because they realized that a business's real value, it's often more than what you see on a balance sheet. And this idea, it shows us how important it is to really understand your field. Like, you got to look deeper than just the surface. You got to see the stuff that really makes something valuable. Like, let's say you're looking at a company. Think about the management team, their culture, their advantages over other companies, and their potential to grow over time. Those are things that you won't necessarily see just by looking at their financial statements. Munger was all about thinking long-term, especially when it came to investing. He believed in being patient, letting your investments grow over time, and not trying to get rich quick. He had this funny quote, "Sit on your ass. You're paying less to brokers, you're listening to less nonsense, and if it works, the tax system gives you an extra 1, 2, or 3 percentage points per annum." And this shows us the power of compounding, where your returns just keep building on themselves over time. In our world today, everyone wants things instantly, but Munger reminds us that real success usually takes time. Imagine two different investors, okay? One is always buying and selling stocks based on what the market's doing right now, and the other one carefully picks investments and holds on to them for a long time. Who do you think is going to end up with more money in the long run? Munger believed that being a good investor is about finding these mispriced gambles, where the odds are in your favor. Of course, to figure that out, you need knowledge. You got to analyze things carefully, and you've got to be able to judge risk accurately. Think of it like this. You wouldn't bet all your money on a horse race without knowing about the horses, the jockeys, and the track conditions. Same with investing. Do your research before you put your money in. One of the things that made Munger so successful was his ability to focus. He had an amazing attention span. And in today's world where everyone's distracted all the time, that's a really valuable skill. When someone asked him how he became so successful, he said, "I succeeded because I have a long attention span." To be able to focus deeply, to really understand something, it's becoming more and more rare. And that makes it even more valuable. In a world where everything's changing so fast and knowledge is often superficial, people who can focus, learn, and really master a subject have a huge advantage. But just focusing, that's not enough, is it? It also matters what you're focusing on, right? Munger, he didn't like what he called fake knowledge. That kind of shallow understanding we get from just like skimming headlines or scrolling through our phones all day. He warned us about getting too confident when we only have this like surface level knowledge. He said something interesting. He said,
If people weren't wrong so often, we wouldn't be so rich. Think about that for a second.
If everyone knew everything perfectly, there wouldn't be any chances to make money, right?
No good deals to be found. So how do we avoid this trap of like only knowing a little bit about a lot of things? Well, Munger had an idea about that too. He believed in taking time to just think, to resist that urge to always be doing something or always be taking in information. He thought we should take time to really think things through, to let ideas sink in, to really process information deeply. And this actually connects to how he invested. He was known for being patient, for really thinking about his decisions. But this idea, it's not just for investing, it's for life in general. How often do we just jump into decisions, react without thinking or get caught up in the moment? Taking time for quiet reflection, like Munger said, it's a good way to slow down in our crazy world. And this quiet reflection, it's not about hiding from the world, is it? It's about actually engaging with the world in a better way. One of Munger's most powerful quotes that kind of gets at this, I think that one should recognize reality even when one doesn't like it. Indeed, especially when one doesn't like it. That's deep, right? It's about facing the truth, even when it's hard, making decisions based on facts, not just on what we wish was true, seeing the world as it really is, not how we want it to be, and having the guts to admit when we're wrong, learning from our mistakes, and moving on. This clear-eyed view of reality, it's super important for navigating life, for investing, for business, for everything. Munger wasn't a fan of those get-rich-quick schemes. He always emphasized that building wealth, achieving success, creating a good life, it all takes time. It takes discipline. It takes effort. He didn't believe in shortcuts. He believed in continuously learning, working hard, and making good decisions day after day. It's about playing the long game, understanding that real success is a marathon, not a sprint. So how do we make those good decisions then? How do we build a way of understanding the world so we can make better choices? Well, this is where another one of Munger's big ideas comes in. Mental models. He believed in using big ideas from lots of different fields, psychology, history, physics, biology, all sorts of things, to get a better, more complete understanding of how the world works. By using these models in different situations, we can make smarter decisions, avoid common traps, and see things that other people miss. Think of mental models like tools for your mind. Just like a carpenter has a toolbox full of different tools for different jobs, we should have a mental toolbox full of models for understanding the world. For example, have you heard of supply and demand? It's from economics, right? Well, it can help us understand not just the price of things, but also how relationships work, how job markets function, even dating. And then there's inertia. That's from physics. It can help us understand why it's so hard to break bad habits, or why big companies have trouble changing. See? Mental models everywhere. So what Munger is saying with this mental models thing, it's about seeing patterns, getting cause and effect, and being able to solve problems in different ways. It's about taking a step back, seeing the bigger picture, and using ideas from different areas to get a deeper understanding. It's about always adding tools to your mental toolbox, finding new models and improving the ones you already have. And speaking of the bigger picture, Munger was also big on surrounding yourself with the right people. He had this great line. He said, I try to get rid of people who always confidently answer questions about which they don't have any real knowledge. What he means is we should look for people who are thoughtful, who know their stuff, and who are willing to admit when they don't know something. It's about having people around you who challenge you, who make you think, and who help you grow. This idea of being honest about what you know, it comes up a lot in Munger's thinking. He believed that real knowledge comes from being willing to question your own beliefs, being open to new information, and always trying to learn more. It's about being humble enough to say, I was wrong, and being willing to change your mind when you see new evidence. And for investors, Munger had another crucial piece of advice. Control your emotions. He knew that fear and greed could mess up your decisions and hurt your long-term returns. He said, a lot of people with high IQs are terrible investors because they've got terrible temperaments. You need to keep raw, irrational emotion under control. And this isn't just for investing, right? It's for life in general. Think about it. How often do our emotions make us do things we regret? How often do they cloud our judgment, make us make rash decisions, or stop us from seeing things clearly? Munger's emphasis on emotional control, it's a reminder that we don't have to be slaves to our feelings. We can learn to manage them, to make decisions based on logic, not just impulse, and to stay calm and collected when things get tough. To see this in action, let's look at an example. Over a 20-year period, investors who were good at controlling their emotions made way more money than those who let their emotions drive their decisions, like a lot more. The difference was $34,683 versus $21,422. That's huge. This shows us how important it is to have a disciplined approach to investing, one that doesn't get thrown off by the ups and downs of the market. Munger, he didn't just talk about this emotional control thing. It was like a core part of how he invested. And I think a big reason why he was so successful, he understood that the market, it's often driven by, well, irrational behavior, by fear and greed. And the people who can stay calm, who can stay rational, they have a real edge. It's about having the discipline to stick to your plan, to not make impulsive decisions just because the market's moving up or down in the short term, and instead to focus on the long-term fundamentals. It's like the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting, that's impulsive, driven by emotion. But responding, that's thoughtful, that's measured, that's strategic. And this ability to control your emotions, to think clearly even when things are crazy, it's a valuable skill no matter what you're doing. Whether you're negotiating a deal, making a big life decision, or even just dealing with the everyday stresses of life, being able to manage your emotions, it really helps. It's about developing that inner strength, that resilience that helps you get through tough times and stay focused on what you want to achieve. Munger's wisdom, it wasn't just about investing, though. He really understood people, how the world works, the patterns that repeat themselves throughout history. He studied history, philosophy, psychology, all sorts of things. And he used all that knowledge to help him think and make decisions. He saw things clearly. He wasn't afraid to say what he thought. And he often questioned the way everyone else was thinking. His ideas, they're timeless. They can be used in so many different areas of life. He was a lifelong learner, always trying to learn more, to understand more. He believed in those mental models we were talking about, and he was always looking for new ones from all kinds of different fields. This approach, it let him see the world from lots of different angles and make connections that other people missed. He was also a big believer in clear thinking, in using logic and reason. He thought we should try to understand the basic principles that make the world tick and make decisions based on evidence and logic, not just on emotions or superstitions or what we wish was true. And one more important thing about Munger's philosophy, it was his commitment to being ethical, to having integrity. He believed in honesty, fairness, and treating people with respect. He saw these qualities as essential for building trust, for creating real value, and for living a good life. For Munger, success wasn't just about money or achievements. It was about living a life based on principles, doing the right thing even when it's hard. Charlie Munger, he left behind a legacy of wisdom, rationality, and a deep understanding of human nature. His ideas, they still inspire investors, business leaders, and thinkers all around the world. His emphasis on mental models, that's especially useful for navigating our complicated world today. By building a way to understand the world, we can make better choices, solve problems better, and live more fulfilling lives. His life and his work, they remind us that real success isn't about shortcuts or getting rich quick. It's about hard work, learning throughout your life, and making good judgments. His insights, they're like a treasure chest of wisdom. They can help us all live better, more thoughtful, and more successful lives. He might be gone, but his ideas are still with us. His wisdom is timeless, his humor is sharp, and his insights, they're just as relevant today as they were years ago. One of the simplest but most powerful lessons from Charlie Munger is this. Try to avoid being stupid. Focus on not making big mistakes. Stay within your circle of competence. And always keep learning. That's a pretty good recipe for success no matter what you do. I hope you enjoyed learning about Charlie Munger's wisdom as much as I did. His ideas, they really are a gift. And if you like this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more great financial and business insights.